Hello.
Welcome to my podcast, Tim Moon. Hi guys, welcome to Zebadextra v. Phebo, where we talk about books and movies we've watched or read, and we are going to give some spoilers. We're going to talk about the whole thing, but before we get into spoilers, we'll definitely give you a heads up before we get there. So today we're going to be talking about the new Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the
Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny. This is the final Indiana Jones, or at least Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie,
Yes.
apparently.
Yes.
And we went to go see it in the theaters, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
This is a long film.
It is.
3 hours, correct?
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
it
the
was
trailers,
pretty long.
it was 3 hours. So in the movie, so it'll be less if you're watching it at home. But we had a good time. It's action-packed. There's a lot of CGI for his face, and it looks great, in my opinion.
Yeah, it didn't look bad.
I thought it was good. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I can concur with that
I would say
statement.
this is a liked it, not a loved it, but it's a really liked it for me.
I agree. I totally agree with that assessment.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I took a few notes on this video, but I'm just going to use them as reference if we can't remember what we saw. But if I'm going to sum this up in a sentence with no spoilers, Indiana Jones...
He's Indiana Jones.
He is retiring from his job at the university.
Mm-hmm.
And this is set in the 70s. It's
Yes.
around Vietnam War time, right?
Yes. It's 30 years after the
Last Crusade?
No, it's 30 years after the oh my god.
Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No. The World War II.
Okay. So, it's really fun for that reason too, because it's set in the 70s and it looks cool. This also stars Phoebe Waller-Bridger. If you don't know her from too many things, she was in an Amazon Prime show called Fleabag, which is really good. You should check it out if you want to see more of her. So anyway, this is about Indiana Jones. He's retiring, and his goddaughter shows up back into his life. He hasn't seen her in 18 years.
What was her name?
Helena.
Helena?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she is like one of his buddies from the past, one of his fellow archaeologist buddies' daughter. And she is interested in the Dial of Destiny. She wants to know about it. And they together become embroiled in some intrigue. There are also Nazis involved in this film again.
Yes, there are.
Mads Mikkelsen is in this film. He is from the great television show called...
Matt Mikkelsen's Monday Morning Marathon.
Yeah. He's been in lots of stuff. He's been in, I think it was in Rogue One. He plays the dad in Rogue One. He's been in tons of stuff. So anyway, he plays...
Never seen him before.
He plays the main villain. You never saw that guy before?
Not that I know of.
What?
No.
Oh. Okay, well anyway, he was also in Casino Royale, remember? And I said,
I remember you saying that, but I don't remember him in Casino
You don't remember
Royale.
the main card player guy with the eye that he's always like pushing on his eye. The main card player that he plays against. Tim likes cards, so I would expect you to remember this.
I was
movie.
paying attention to the cards.
Well, anyway, so yeah, that's what it's about. There's lots of action.
I agree.
Tiny bit of romance.
Yeah, a little bit.
Tiny.
A little bit.
I
will say, and I'm going to throw this out here, I enjoyed this movie. You enjoyed this movie. And I think it was because of the nostalgia of the movie. Because our kids, 7 and 11, mind you.
Did we take them to this?
They did go to this.
Oh,
and they were bored.
They were real bored, yeah. But it was also
Yeah.
long.
It was long.
But there wasn't really too much stuff that was like that bothered them at their ages.
Yeah, no, there was nothing like bothersome about it. It was just, I think for us, because we had watched all the previous ones, it was, there's something there for us. Whereas for them, it was just a movie about an old man that was running around.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into spoilers now. So on this channel, we do a deep dive. That means we're going to talk about the whole plot.
Did it have one?
Yes. So the reason that I format the videos this way is so, like, in case you were thinking about watching this movie, but you didn't really want to spend the time to watch it, you can just pop up in your ear, and we'll tell you everything that's going to happen while you're doing whatever you need to get done today, and we'll let you know. And if it sounds good, you could go watch it. If it doesn't, you're like, hey, I already listened to the movie. So
yeah.
If you have seen it, make sure and leave us your comments down below about what you thought about this film. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for supporting us by subscribing, leaving a comment, and now we're going to get into it.
Let's do this.
Okay, so I believe this film starts in Nazi Germany, right? And Harrison Ford is captured, and he's in some place where there's some Nazi general guy, and they are looking for Harrison Ford's buddy. He ends up being important later in the film, but they capture them both basically, and does he already have the Dial of Destiny in his bag?
No. So what happens is originally everybody's there looking for the Lance of.
Oh yeah.
What's the guy's name? Longinus?
I'll look it up while you're saying that.
And so they're looking for that in
Lance of Longinus.
And so Matt Mikkelsen is like the curator for the Nazis. And he takes a look at the Lance, and Harrison Ford ends up getting a look at the Lance, and they both realize something. It's fake.
Yeah.
The general doesn't want to hear that. And so they're on the train leaving with the Lance, and the Matt Mikkelsen character is talking to the general, telling him that was fake, but they do have this part of this item that was used by Archimedes and built by him, and it's the Dial of Destiny, and the general doesn't want to hear it because he's like, the Fuhrer is not going to want part of an artifact. He's going to want the whole thing.
Okay.
And so they're going to take him the Lance.
So Indy they were going to hang him back in that room that they were, and they captured his friend. What's his friend's name?
I don't remember, but his friend is in.
His name is Baz.
Baz.
He's in Ever After.
He's also in other indie films.
Really? Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Played by a different guy.
No.
That guy Baz was not in other indie films.
Yes, he was. 20 years ago. And he played kind of like he did now, just a sidekick.
Indiana Jones' sidekick from the other. It's all right. We have to solve this. He was not in those films.
Who? Baz?
That actor who was in Baz. Like, the first film I ever saw him in was Ever After. All right, the actor who plays Baz, his name. Oh, Antonio Banderas is also in this film. That was cool.
That was.
John Rhys Davies makes an appearance in this film. He is amazing. Okay, Toby Jones plays Shaw. And
Shaw? I thought we were looking for Baz.
His name is Baz Shaw.
Oh.
Okay. So what am I looking for to see if he's in the other films?
Yeah.
Okay, so his very first credit was in 1992.
Huh.
So he was not in the other Indiana Jones movies.
Okay. So I misremembered that. I apologize.
Next time you should just believe me, because I know all the people.
I know. You're a woman. You're my wife. You're always right.
Anyway, so Baz is on the train. Yes. They brought him with him. I can't remember why. Do you remember why?
Because they think they're both spies, which they are.
Are they spies, though, or are they just there trying to get the stuff away from the Fuhrer?
Yes.
Okay, because they're not working for the government.
No.
Okay, so they have Baz on the train. Indy escapes from being hung. I don't remember how, but he escapes.
Yes.
He runs to the train. He's like on top of the train.
Is it because the airplane is shooting at the train and it hits? I think that's why. It hits like the.
It hits that building.
The gunner.
Oh, the building gets bombed. Remember, a big bomb comes down and everything gets exploded in there.
Oh, that's right. And then he sneaks onto the plane or onto the train. And then, yes, okay.
Disguised as a Nazi, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, oh, in fact, I wrote it right here. Indy's left hanging from a gargoyle at that part. I was like, wow.
Gargoyle?
Yeah, there was a gargoyle. That's where they hung the rope off of to hang him.
Oh, yes, gotcha.
Okay, so there's a car chase. Indy jumps to a motorcycle trying to get to the train that holds his accomplice with his bag. He's running on top of the train, just like some super epic, nostalgic Indiana Jones moments. Indy and the German professor, Mags...
Now, we should also point out that, like, this whole flashback to the Nazi Germany, it's all done with CGI on Harrison Ford.
But none of the other actors, because they weren't needed to.
What, did they do that with Mads Mikkelsen?
They might have a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, now that I think of it, maybe.
So, Mads calls the Dial of Destiny the Antikythera. That's like the name of it?
Yes, that's the name of it.
Okay. So, he says it can make a man a god.
Antikythera.
Basically, it can let you time travel.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how it makes you a god.
Yes.
So, and it was invented by Archimedes. But they only have half of it, and they know where the other half is?
So, they do not know where the other half is. They know where the guide to the other half should be.
Oh, because they know that there's like a map, a clue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Him and Baz know that? Or that's what Mads knows?
I think it's just him and Baz.
Okay.
Because when we flashed it back to the future, Baz has been like obsessed with it the whole time in finding it. Mm-hmm. And you remember he's like, he ends up knowing where it is because of his obsession with it. And so his daughter knows. Okay.
So, Indiana ends up punching out Mads. Mm-hmm. So you know that when they meet each other again, he's going to be like,
It's so funny, too, because he like holds his hat up in front of the guy's face.
Yeah, and why did he do that? To not hurt his hand as much, maybe?
I don't know.
Oh. The train gets bombed, and Indy and Baz...
It didn't get bombed. It got shot.
Okay. So the train gets shot by flying over air... U.S. air flight? Maybe.
I think it was British.
Okay.
British air.
And Indy and Baz are running on top of the train, and Indy's just like running on the train, and Baz is representing all of us who are like, who's running on top of a train?
Right.
You know, he's like, I can't do this. They encounter a soldier, they fight. Mads holds him at gunpoint and takes the dial. He has the dial in his hand, and then a mail tower comes past them on the train, and he gets taken out by the mail tower.
Yeah, and see,
I was like, oh, this dude's dead.
I did too. I was like, yeah, we're not going to see that guy again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, they jump off the train into a lake, and they leave with the dial. So I was confused at this point. I was like, that Mads guy has the dial. How do they have the dial?
Oh, because they were both holding on to it, and
I thought the Mads had it when he got taken out by the mail.
No. They were both holding on to it,
but
when he got knocked back, Indy had it.
Okay. Alone. So now we flash forward to old Indy. He is living alone in an apartment in the 70s. Are we in New York?
Are we?
I'm not sure. We're in some big city.
Yeah.
He's teaching at a college and he's retiring. A woman from his class, Helena Shaw, follows him to a bar. At first, we just think it's one of his students. Follows him to a bar, and we find out he knew her as a child. And then we're getting a flash of Mads now. Or I'm calling him Mads, but the Nazi scientist. He's also in New York, and he's going by the name Schmidt. And he's actually...
Schmidt? I thought it was Strauss.
Schmidt. And he is working for the U.S. government to help them build their aerospace science.
Yep.
But, spoiler, he's still a Nazi. Right?
Once a Nazi, always a Nazi.
He's still salty about the war. Mm-hmm. He makes comments all throughout the film like, you know, we should have won.
Hitler
messed it up. Yeah. We would have won. And so you can tell he's still incredibly racist and a horrible person.
Yep.
So Helena tells Indy that she's going for her doctorate in archaeology and wants to find the dial.
Right.
And he's like, oh, you don't want to mess with this thing. This drove your dad mad.
Yep.
You know, let's not get into that. Indy shows her where they've hit the dial in like
they have like
a warehouse inside the
kind of
college?
like a little vault inside the. I mean, it's not really a vault because it's like chain link kind of.
Yeah, it was just in this room with all of these. What are the like bookshelf looking things?
Yeah, there are a bunch of shelves with archaeological.
Yeah. So he had the dial
artifacts.
hidden down in a bottom compartment of something that had like arrows in it or something.
Yep, arrowheads.
So he was hiding it, and he shows her, and then Mr. Schmidt. So this part was kind of confusing to me because they didn't spell this out, but the CIA is there with two of Mr. Schmidt. That's Mads. With two of his goons, and I don't know why they're working together.
So because Schmidt was working on top secret projects for the U.S. government as far as so
not just
technology.
Aerospace. He was doing other stuff too.
It was rockets,
okay.
So he's actually supposed to be going to meet the president to get the presidential award or something, and so the CIA was involved with it at that moment.
So they were just like with him.
Yeah, kind of guarding him.
Okay, so it actually seemed like the CIA and him were there to intercept Helena.
So I think what it was they were working with him because he was like, just like he did with the general, he was like, this is even more powerful than the bomb that we just built for you. And so they were working with him to help him get it. Okay,
so there's a CIA operative there who is trying to do things by the book.
She was cool. I liked her.
And then there's two of Schmidt's goons. So they all go to the school. They find Indy and Helena in the warehouse area.
Yeah.
And the bad guys, not the CIA operative, start killing people that they find in there. And she's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. So they actually end up killing her, right? Or is it not yet?
Not yet.
Spoiler. So then...
Double spoiler.
So then Indy and Helena, she just like grabs the dial and she hurries and like runs out the room.
Yeah, and locks Indy in.
And so he figures out that they're actually chasing her, right? At that point.
Well, they're chasing the dial.
Yeah, but they knew that she was after it, right?
Yeah.
CIA takes Indy and tries to walk him through a Vietnam War protest. Is that what was happening?
There was a parade going on. And
there was a parade for the rockets, but there was also a protest.
Right, there was also a protest that was going on at the same time. And they were just trying to get him through there to... they
were just trying to transport him, but they couldn't make it through it, so they had to take him on foot. But he ends up getting away from them. He jumps on a police horse, and so then we're getting some great indie content there. Yeah. He's running through the streets, and the goons chase him in cars and motorcycles. He runs down into the subway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good action, you guys. They had some great ideas when they were playing the script for this. He takes the horse.
I laughed when he goes down into the subway.
Yeah.
It's after this.
Oh.
So you go ahead and tell him about what happens.
So he takes the horse down into the subway, but then he's on the tracks and he's racing. Yeah. He's playing chicken with the train, right? Or is he in front of the train?
He's playing chicken with the train.
And
then he sees there's an opening to cut over right before the train's going to hit him. So he jumps onto the other track, and now there's a train behind him barreling down.
And he's trying to make his horse go faster than this train. I didn't take too many more notes about that part. Was there something?
So there was. It was just a little funny part. And he gets off the horse on the next station.
Yeah.
And then he just hands the reins to somebody. Yeah. And he goes, I think the train's faster. And he gets on the train to go away.
Yeah, Indy's humor is so dry and it's so fun.
It's very dry.
So Schmidt, like Tim said, is supposed to be going to get a medal from the president, but he decides to just jump on a train to Morocco because he's decided that's a plane. He's decided that that's where Helen is going with the dial. I forget why he knows that.
Because he knows about the the sale that's coming up.
Oh, he knows about the sale.
Right, because there's a bunch of stuff that's being sold at auction, all kinds of stolen stuff at this hotel in Morocco.
This part kind of went over my head.
Yeah.
And when we watch movies in the theater, I sometimes sitting there going, I wish I could ask Tim what's happening. Right
You know what?
now.
Feel free. Feel free.
Anyway, but this movie was so fast paced, there wasn't really too much time to just sit and chat about it.
Especially if you're taking notes.
So now Indy's on the news as a suspected killer.
Right.
So
because of all the people that were killed in the
school
building. Yeah.
Very murder mystery too on the news as being the suspected killer.
Exactly. That's a good analogy, actually.
They also mention in the news, for our benefit, that he's recently lost his son and he's gone through a divorce.
A divorce, yeah.
Yeah. So I like that because they didn't make you have to like have a deposition with another character where you talk about that fact. We just got it really quick and we know that's why he's so sad right now.
Irritated and grumpy and...
So, Sala gives Indy safe harbor. So this is where his friend Sala from the first couple movies
I was going to say, I know he's been in them.
Yeah. Reese
Witherspoon?
Davis.
Oh.
No. John Reese Davies is his name.
Got it.
Yeah. So he gives him a hiding place. And because everyone's looking for him.
They are.
So, and that's a really nice throwback for the audience to be able to see Sala in the film.
It was.
Yeah. So Sala's got Indy's passport from his apartment and his travel bag with his hat and whip. So he's like, hey, here you go. The CIA, we learned, was after Helena because she was arrested abroad for selling contraband and some rich Moroccan bailed her out. That's kind of like a very short description of what she's got herself into, but we learned at this time she's not actually trying to get her doctorate for anything. She's actually somebody who sells
artifacts,
black market artifacts.
Yeah, she's a thief.
Yeah, to rich people, and she's setting up this sale in Morocco.
I have to give her credit because if it was me, I also would try and sell this stuff to rich people because the poor people really couldn't afford the pricing.
Wow.
Just throwing it out.
Good one. Indy arrives in Morocco. He tracks Helena down to a hotel where she's meeting with buyers for I put for the clock, but I meant Dial of Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It kind of looked like a clock to me.
Well, it does. When it's all assembled, it does resemble a clock very, very much.
So also Schmidt shows up there.
What a Schmidt head.
We see that there's a guy on a phone being like, she's here. I'm so angry she's here. Call this person, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So we know that Helena, she's in some trouble.
Yeah.
But she's also there just schmoozing these people, being like, this is mine. Get out of here, Indy. Like, you can't have this in this sale. And she's doing this bidding war while she's talking to Indy. And he's upset because he just wants to see her making good choices. He hasn't seen her 18 years. And now he's like, oh, you're a thief? This is nice.
Well, it's his goddaughter. Mm-hmm. He's got a nickname for her and everything. Wombat.
Yeah. Oh, Wombat. I can't remember what he called her. So a fight breaks out for the dial, and Helena passes it to Teddy. So she has a kind of short round-like character.
Yes.
So this pickpocket stole something from her, I guess, or something, and then she chased him down, and then they've always been together.
Yeah,
so
they've always been together.
He's her helper con man.
And what I would say, when I saw this, and throughout the rest of the movie, I thought, if this is Harrison Ford's last movie, it's like they're setting her up to become like a Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones herself.
The first time you said that made sense to me because I thought she was into it for the archaeology for a while.
Yeah.
But then when I finally clicked to me that she just wants the money.
Well, yeah, but I think that's what Disney has in store.
Oh, is this a Disney film?
Disney owns everything at this point.
All right. So we'll see if Tim's right. We'll see in a couple of years if we get another film. So she passes it to Teddy, but then Schmidt gets it. Helen and Indy are intercepted by Raheem, the mob man who loved her and bailed her out. And this is the funniest part of the film.
It is so funny.
So this guy, Raheem, his father is like this big mob man. So he's very wealthy. And he's the person that bailed her out because she was his fiancée. But she was just conning him.
Yeah.
So she's not really in love with him, but he's still in love with her. So he's sitting there like threatening her with a knife to her throat, but it's actually just like a passionate love
Yeah.
thing in his mind. He's threatening her, but he's not really going to kill her.
And the really funny part on this one for me was they were talking, they were kind of arguing, and he's like, and you don't even have my ring on anymore. I bet you pawned it.
Yeah.
And she was like, I thought it would get a bit more money than it did.
Oh.
Yeah.
And this all just happens like this.
Yeah,
it's just really fast.
It's just really fast. And then she takes off running.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah.
So Teddy arrives and whisks them away in a tuk-tuk, or is it called tuk-tuk?
I think it's a tuk-tuk.
Tuk-tuk. So this part is hilarious. It's my favorite part of the film. It's a car chase with 2 tuk-tuks, but then Raheem is in this Bentley or something.
Yeah.
Right? In the 70s, driving around these tiny little streets in Morocco. And these little tuk-tuks are supposed to be going so fast, but it's like, really?
Well, the one thing I would say, the believable part for that is the fact that the streets are so narrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so there would be a lot of turns as well.
Yeah.
And so I think they would make up for any speed issues by doing turns. Which they did do a lot of turns.
So they bust up at least one tuk-tuk, and every time it seems like they're getting away from him, then Raheem comes back from around the corner. By the way, they are chasing Schmidt. So it's Schmidt in a car, them in their tuk-tuks, Raheem in the back, and he keeps catching up to him and being like, Helena, I love you!
And there's motorcycle guys from Raheem's gang coming up beside them, and they're knocking him away, and
so it's so fun because she doesn't care about him at all. And she's so just not stressed about anything. She's just
really chill.
Yeah, she's just oh, I've got to escape another thing. And she's just, and there's this one part where she goes out.
That's another thing that reminds me of Indiana
Jones. Yeah.
Because she has the same kind of temperament that he does.
I'm sure that was intentional.
Yeah.
But he was always altruistic, and she's totally the opposite.
Yeah, she's chaotic neutral.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's this part where she takes this crowbar and she smashes it onto the front of Raheem's windshield, and she's hanging on with one hand, and she's doing something with the other hand. I can't remember what, but it's hilarious because it's there's no way this lady could do this, but it was so funny.
Yep. It was
super funny.
Really fun.
So Schmidt gets to an airplane. They load up.
Yep.
The CIA lady is there.
Right.
But his 2 goons are there as well. So when they're on the plane, the goons kill the CIA lady.
So the CIA agent was like, okay, we're done. We're going to the president. You're going to get your award. And he's like, I don't even care about that anymore. Change of plans. And his goons take her out and the pilot.
Yeah, and then they set their flight plan to go to the Mediterranean.
Right.
So at this point, Indy and Helena and Teddy, they're in the city. Are they still in Morocco? I feel like they might still be.
They are in Morocco, but then they're heading to go find the... So this is where you find out that her dad thinks he knew where the guide to the second piece is.
Okay. So Indy and Helena, they decide to work together to find the other half. Indy takes them to a boat captain who is played by Antonio Banderas. And he's going to help them dive for the other half. So are they diving for the half, or are they diving for the clue?
For the guide.
The guide. Okay. I wrote that it was the other half, but it was the guide. Mm-hmm. So they figured out where they're supposed to dive to.
So basically, the ship had 500 Roman guards, and
this is an Archimedes old ship that has the guide on it.
It was an old Roman ship, yes, and the ship sank and it broke in half, and I guess there were these divers that can dive certain depth that were able to dive down, and they found the first half of the Archimedes Dial of Destiny.
Where the clue thing is?
Well, that was how the first half was found.
Huh.
Now, Helena Shaw's dad thought that the ship was trying to go find the second half of the Dial of Destiny, and they had the guide on board. But
so one half of the dial was on board and the guide was on board?
Right. And he assumed that when the ship broke, part of it slipped down extremely deep.
Uh-huh.
And his conclusion was that's where the guide was.
Oh, why they didn't find it on the first boat.
Right.
Okay. So Antonio Banderas, captain guy, he has this gear, so they're connected with like rope and these tubes, so they can breathe down there.
Yeah, it's deep sea scuba gear.
Okay. So Andy, Helena, the captain, and like 2 other guys jump down there, right? Mm-hmm. So they're all down there, and they have a time limit, right? They can only have enough air for a certain amount.
5 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah.
So they get down there, and there's some shrieking eels. And remember, Indy's scared of snakes. And they get...
I know, when we got to that part, I was like, eels? Why'd it have to be eels?
Yeah. And they find the box.
They do.
Helena helps to save Indy because he's all like trapped by all these eel snakes. But then who comes upon them in a boat but Schmidt. So he rides up in his boat with his goons, and they pull him up out of the water, and I think that they shoot somebody, or they like undo their oxygen tank or something.
So it's like they killed the 2 guys that were down, but not the Antonio Banderas and Helena and Indy.
And they get up to the boat, and everybody on the boat's dead except for Teddy. Is he hiding?
For Teddy, yeah.
Or they just decided not to kill him?
They just decided not to kill him. It wasn't in the script.
Yeah. No children or animals were injured in the filming of this film.
Okay.
So Schmidt tells Indy to read the code.
Not gonna do it.
And Indy and Helena had already had a discussion about what code they thought it would be in. So it's not written in a language, it's written in a code.
A numerical code.
And there's these 2 codes that it could be.
Yeah.
And she knows one of them, and he knows the other one, right?
Well, he knows both.
Well, he knows both.
Yeah.
Okay, but she only knows one.
She only knows one.
So Andy's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So they shoot his friend.
Yes, Antonio.
So Antonio's dead. And so now he's really upset, obviously. And then Helena grabs it, and she offers to read it for $100,000.
Yep.
And so now, of course, Indy's really upset, even more. And
he's like, you know they're not going to pay you.
Yeah.
And what does Schmidt do?
I don't know.
He goes over and grabs a bag that has like all these diamonds in it and just pours it out. And he's like, that's more than...
Yeah. So she's like slowly deciphering the code in her jovial manner, just walking around being like, could it be this? Could it be this? Meanwhile, behind her back, she's lit a stick of dynamite, right?
Yeah, she has a stick of dynamite in her back pocket.
Yeah.
And she backs up so Indy can...
Light it?
Light it.
Yeah. And so...
Because she took a cigarette off of somebody, and she gives it to Indy.
Yeah. And so then he lights it, and they blow people up, and they escape with the Graficos.
Yes.
And they head to Sicily, because she was like, I gave them the wrong directions when I was telling them it was on this. We actually are going to go here.
Right.
So they head to Sicily. I forget, how do they get away from these people? Are on a boat?
So they take their boat.
So they jump onto a different boat.
Yeah, so they
Schmidt's
jumped onto Schmidt's like speedboat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've got Teddy. While Indy is buying supplies, Teddy wanders off and he gets taken by Schmidt's men.
Well, it should be mentioned that the Graficos, there was like the instructions on the top, but they're like, that's wax, and the other one was wrapped in wax, and so they decide to burn the
Does that happen
Graficos.
on the boat?
Yeah.
And that's how they find the code?
And that's how they find this actual gold plate that had the actual instructions on it.
Yeah, that part was cool. So Teddy gets kidnapped by Schmidt's men, and they realize that Teddy's been kidnapped, and Schmidt took Teddy with him to a cave, and Indy and Helena follow. I took some kind of loose notes here.
I think you have that backwards.
Oh.
Indy and Helena go to the cave.
That's right, because they're like, he'll be fine, they're not going to kill him, right? So they
Right.
go to the cave first. They find like a moon symbol that tells them where they need to climb up to, and they go through into the hole.
Yep.
Schmidt comes behind them. Before they get to that part, I think Teddy escapes, right?
No, he's made to climb up into the cave with them.
Oh.
It's while they're in the cave that he ends up escaping.
Okay.
But not only does he escape, what else does he do?
I wrote that he jumps on a goon.
The big goon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate?
Well, then he knocks him into the river because they're handcuffed together.
Oh, yeah. And he undoes it underwater and locks him onto like a grate.
Yeah,
under the water and essentially murders the guy who's already killed a bunch of people.
Yep.
So they find the other half of the dial.
Yep.
And Schmidt takes it from them and puts the two halves together.
It was in Archimedes' actual casket, which was hidden in this cave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did like this cool thing with the water.
Yeah.
And they saw a whole bunch of skeletons, so they're like, we have to get out of here. There's this poison, carbon monoxide happening,
there's
and
a poison.
we have to get out of here. Methane. And then Indy figures out something with the water. Anyway, it's very cool. It's all just like so original Indiana Jones. Yep. And then this whole thing where like Indy finds something and the bad guy comes and just takes it from him.
Yep.
And then Indy finds something and the bad guy comes and takes it from him. That's exactly just like the originals.
Exactly.
So, Teddy jumps onto a goon and Indy gets shot in the gunfight. The goon takes Indy to their truck and Helena and Teddy make their way out and find a motorcycle.
Yes.
Okay. Schmidt plans to time travel back to go kill Hitler and take his place. I mean, how evil can you be? You want to go take Hitler's place.
Because he wasn't good enough.
Oh my goodness. So that now we finally figure out why Schmidt wants this dial so badly. He wants to go back to a specific place in time where he feels like Hitler messed up and he's going to go take his place so that he will win the war.
Right. And the whole time, Indy thinks that he's trying to go back to destroy like the British or somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's when you find out, no, he wants to kill the Fuhrer.
Yeah. And that was like okay. Like, whoa.
Well, I mean, that's one way to do it.
So, that now we know his plan. They load Indy into a Nazi plane, and then Teddy gets into a separate plane.
Right.
It's a little plane. We discover that there's actually a person sleeping in the plane, but he's gotten into the plane. He doesn't know how to fly a plane, right? But he's going to figure it out. Well,
if you remember when he was back in Morocco, he actually had like all the dials set up, and one of the pilots was walking him through how he would actually,
Oh, okay.
And
I missed
so
that. But
he knows what it is. He knows how to do it, but he's never actually done it.
Okay. So, Helena chases down the Nazis on a motorcycle and jumps onto the wheel of the plane and boards it up through the bottom of the plane. Teddy follows, but there's someone in his plane. They're flying straight into a wormhole, and Indy realizes their calculations must be wrong because of continental drift.
Yes.
That went over my head, but apparently...
So what it ends up being is this Dial of Destiny has... the property where it will point to wormholes that open up in our world. And
so it worked correctly to find the wormhole.
It did work correctly to find the wormhole, but Indy was like, with the continental drift, if you use the coordinates, it's not going to work. You're not going to get to where you think you are. So... in fact, that was accurate. That was the case.
They all fly through the wormhole. The Nazi plane and Teddy flying behind them goes through as well, right?
Exactly.
With that other pilot still on board?
Yes.
The pilot kind of like takes over and starts flying, right?
The pilot doesn't wake up until
they're through?
They're going through the wormhole.
Oh, wow.
And then he's like panicking because the engines stall.
So... they actually go back to Archimedes' time, 214 BC.
Yes.
And it's during the siege of Syracuse, and their plane gets hit by the Romans who think they're a dragon. This whole part was so fun because it was just like, this is why people thought they were dragons.
Yeah. And the thing is remember, like, there were a couple of times that the story got out, or in the movie where you see the story like there was a puppeteer showing the dragons flying and killing the Roman soldiers
in 214 BC.
Well, no, this was in when they were in right about the same time that the kid got kidnapped.
So while they were in Sicily.
Yeah, there was like this show.
See, I missed that stuff.
Yeah, it was just like really quick.
Oh.
And it showed, a puppeteer, flying a dragon and the Roman soldiers. And I thought that there was a thing as well about that. But one of the things too, kind of reaching back to when they found the second half of the dial in Archimedes' tomb.
Yeah, I went over that part quick, but that whole part is really cool and more involved.
There on his tomb is a dragon with impellers.
Really?
Yes.
Does he say something about that at the time?
They do. They talk about it because...
And they also find what on Archimedes' wrist?
A watch.
Yeah. They find a watch, and he's like, Archimedes made it work. He went forward in time.
Yeah.
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 So, now we're back in time, and the Romans are shooting the plane with their big harpoon.
Yep, they're shooting harpoons at it.
And so now the Nazi plane's going down, right?
Well, it has been, but it's now flying around shooting all the Romans that they can.
So at this point, Helena shoots Schmidt, and that's when he's done, right?
Schmidt?
Yeah. I wrote here that Helena shoots Schmidt, and then she and Indy both jump off with a parachute. So then Schmidt's plane just barrels into the ground.
You are correct.
Lights on fire.
You are correct. Sorry.
So Teddy tells his pilot to help him get Indy and Helena. So they're still flying above. They're going to come in and land. All of a sudden, Archimedes himself walks up and finds Schmidt's plane.
Yes.
And he takes the dial, the completed dial that they have put together, right? And we see that he and his intern or whatever, they're making a dial in their workshop, but it's not complete.
Right.
Yeah. So at this point, Indy, we've learned that he's lost his son in war. He's divorced. He's shot. He's all these things. He's old. He feels old. I don't have a purpose left anymore. He's decided he wants to stay.
Yeah, he wants to just
in
stay
214 there. BC. And
which, to be honest with you, like for an archaeologist, like that would be okay, I think.
Yeah.
Because they could actually witness stuff firsthand and be like, oh, we thought it was this, but it was actually that.
Yeah. It sounds like a really nice ending for him, actually.
Yeah.
And so he's telling Helena, he's like, let me stay here. I want to stay here. Helena and he fight about it for a while, and eventually she just punches him in the face.
Punches him right in the face. Knocks him out.
Yeah. And he wakes up back in his apartment in the city.
Yep.
And it's like you're just taken right back to the beginning of the film. So he's just like, crap. So, I wrote, all the dial was made to do was bring people to Archimedes' time.
Right.
How did he figure that out?
Because it didn't matter. There were no coordinates that mattered because the wormhole was just designed by this dial of destiny to bring them to one time.
Well, so because Archimedes had the one from the future now, he had the exact coordinates to take them to that exact wormhole to bring them to him. Right?
Right.
So there was no like twisting it to whatever you needed. It was always going to bring you to the one they already came to.
Yes.
And so we decided that Archimedes wanted them to do that so they could help him win that battle.
Right. Because they were going to bring the dragons.
Was it clear in the film that they won the battle because of that?
Yes.
Because the
Romans all retreated.
The Nazis were shooting all the Romans and stuff with their guns on their plane. And so they were retreating.
Right.
Okay.
So they're the ones that helped Archimedes
win
the Battle of Syracuse.
Okay. All right. That part went a little quick for me, so I wasn't sure about it. So when he wakes up in his home and he has the dial. Wait, why does he have the dial?
Because Archimedes can't keep it.
He can't keep the one from the future?
Right, because he has to build it.
So that's right. She's like, don't leave him this. He has to build this.
Yeah, he has to build it.
But, so he built it just based on seeing it one time?
He was already in the process of building it. So he had an idea of how it would work.
Right.
But
this just like confirmed
This just confirmed, okay, I know what I'm working on works.
So on the table by Indy's bed, there's the dial
Mm-hmm.
and a harpoon arrow. Is that what it's called?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, he had one. So she brought those two things back for him. So he had a Roman weapon now in his room.
I thought he had the
lance?
The lance.
Wow. Okay, so I thought it was one of those Roman lances.
But what's really weird is in the movie I
thought the lance got destroyed in the train.
Right, but that was a fake.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know
I just
exactly
thought it was
what
one of the harpoons from
yeah,
the battle.
it could be. It could be.
So
you'll have to watch it. And
yeah, let us know what you thought. So then all of a sudden Marion walks in. So this is the first time we're actually seeing her in the film.
Is that her name, Marion?
Yeah. So she has been in like pictures and stuff that we've seen in the film, but she actually walks in as herself in the 70s, and she's got a whole bag of groceries, and she's restocking the fridge, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "You don't have any food here." Yeah. Then Sala walks in with his grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so now you see that Helena has summoned two people that are still important in Indy's life to come and remind him that he still does have life here.
Yep.
And Helena, she also wants to be part of his life as well.
Yeah.
So then Indy and Marion seem to make up, and that's the end of the film.
Yeah. It was a good ending. It was.
It was good. At the same time, though, like I could see him being very happy having just stayed with Archimedes. But,
I do too.
But also,
and I honestly thought that's where it was going to end.
But then Helena made the point, like, you can't stay here because you're going to change the whole course of history if you stay here. So.
But how do we know that since the dragons were real, which means the Germans came back anyhow and changed the course of history, how do we know that in one of the times he didn't just stay there?
He may have. So anyway, that's the end of the film. Very long, but very
fun.
good. I liked it.
Fun.
We'll probably buy this one.
Probably.
Yeah.
More than likely.
So, I'm going to look up the director while you're giving us your finishing thoughts on that.
I really enjoyed this film. It was, like I said, for us, it was fun because we've watched the other ones.
Oh, guess what? He was the producer of Logan, one of your other favorite films.
Logan?
Yeah, the Wolverine movie.
Oh,
Logan.
okay.
Ford versus Ferrari, Walk the Line.
I still want to see that one.
Ford versus Ferrari?
No, Walk the Line.
Oh, he was a producer on The Greatest Showman.
That wasn't that great.
So anyway, I'd watch more by this director. I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I was happy that Harrison Ford got like a final film that was really good and not cringy. Like a lot of people didn't like The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah. And it's good to see, like, especially right now when you're hearing like all these like movie icons from, the 80s, 90s. They're having all these different troubles. They're having different, like Bruce Willis is having the dementia issues, and it's good to see them being able to go out
on a high
note. Yeah. It's like winning a Super Bowl and then retiring. And I think that's kind of what this was for Harrison Ford.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I don't think he won the Super Bowl as much as Tom Cruise won the Super Bowl with Maverick. It wasn't as much of a hit as that, but it was good.
I would actually put these two movies kind of side by side.
This one was more funny, whereas Maverick was more intense. Like that whole last third was like,
I agree.
whoa.
I agree. There was an intensity to Maverick that wasn't necessarily in this movie, but this movie was also very. It was very Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it was nostalgic and rewarding, just the same way as Maverick was.
Exactly. So I honestly I would put those two kind of even.
Nice.
Now they may not do the same in the box office.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I felt.
All right, well, that's going to be it for this video. We really appreciate you joining us, and leave us a comment letting us know what we should watch next. We are about to leave on vacation. So we won't be watching or reading anything for the next week and a half.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
weeks.
But we will resume when we get back. We do have a TV episode for you next week. 9 more TV shows that we watched that we want to tell you about to save you some time.
I loved them.
All?
No.
So
You'll
anyway,
have to tune in to see which ones I love.
Tune in next week, and don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Okay, take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.